Hi, I'm Bruce Burke. Welcome back to another episode of hashtag Pay Interviews. and Gary's, that's not Gary barking at us, that's his dogs. So this is the one of one series of hashtag Pay Interviews where we focus on the individuality of the people that we're speaking with. Today I've got Gary Cardone of Cardone Ventures, and he's got a new venture called Node40, and Gary's going to tell us all about what Node40 is and what it does and how he got to be here. So if you could, Gary, before we jump into Node40, if you could give our listeners kind of introduce yourself and give us your origin or your backstory, how you got to be where you are today.
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Bruce, for having me. I've got a marketing and economics background from a small college in Louisiana. I wouldn't say that I had a great education. Upon completing economics and marketing, I went to Houston, got a job in the oil and gas business, and got really lucky. I got a job buying natural gas for a pipeline that was brand new, a 36-inch pipeline from Laredo to Houston. It carried about 2 billion cubic feet a day. That's quite a bit of gas. It was empty, and my job at 21 years old was to fill it up. My boss was, I think he was 27. At that time, the energy complex was a really well-organized club of producers and utilities and the pipelines that serve those two entities. And the way natural gas, in fact, the way all markets start in the first place is that they're protected by the government, they're sanctioned as utilities, they do kind of, their economics are cost plus, so if they spend $1 billion, they're going to make an 8% yield on that. But after 30, 40, 50 years, an industry is fully developed, the infrastructure's there, those utilities have received cost plus for many, many years. In the Reagan administration, they came in and said, look, we want to deregulate the markets now, we want to create competition. And I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, where they were basically deregulation or regulatory change was creating ripple effects in the natural gas industry that got about 50 of us. Quite frankly, it was 50 men in the United States that saw this as an opportunity to reshape the entire construct of the way natural gas and eventually electricity would trade. So that was my background. It was a tremendous education because what you had to do, you're buying physical gas in a spot market that we developed. And you had to create new instruments, new contracts, new delivery points. And in doing that, you had to understand the cost to produce a unit of energy, and also all the way to the consumer, the end of the chain, what the consumer was paying. It was an MBA program in macro and microeconomics, supply and demand features, which would become a key principle. First principle of every business I've ever run is based on one very key principle around economics. So that was the start. I did that for 22 years. Retired when I was 42. I had an exit. Helped build we didn't even know what unicorns were back then, but it became a unicorn. We didn't have all these fancy words. We were like, hey, we're successful. So that was a fascinating part of my life. I was able to, on that one venture, moved to London in 1992, and I built two businesses for Dynegy. They were public at that. We were public at that point. Built two really large businesses. I think there was 600 people there when I left. We owned all the storage in one country, which was pretty phenomenal that we could get away with that. And we were doing about $4 or $5 billion in revenue a year. So from standing start, I got very fortunate. The winds were behind me, and I had some really great mentors and bosses that helped me get there. So it was a great experience.
Great, great. And so, how did you end up going from storage king in one country to starting companies like Chargebacks 911 and Cardone Ventures and everything else that you've done? How did you progress into that?
Well, in 2002, before Enron imploded, in fact, in 2001, I sold all my stock on one day. I had accumulated over 17 years. And that's a really interesting point. I think people that follow successful people, I happen to have a twin brother that's very successful, and he pontificates on what got him here. But one of the things I think people, especially that listen to my brother, sometimes they hear that everyone has to own their own business. I just want to reiterate, I spent 17 years at one company. I became very wealthy from that one journey, that platform, retired at the age of 42. So this story about you have to own your own business or be the CEO or be the founder, I don't actually believe that. That foundation and platform was essential for me. It has given me a foundation that I'll take to my grave. But more importantly, I could never have learned that without a corporation behind me, because the funding resources to move $5 or $6 billion of energy a year, the funding requirements it's not a little person's game. It's a big boy's game. So I wouldn't get all lost into what your title or role is. I took advantage of the opportunity that was given to me and learned how to, build muscles around that space. In 2002, I had a prediction that the entire natural gas and electricity mark-to-market game was over, and that in order to actually have fun and squeeze more margin out of it, it was going to be a lot of work. On that thesis alone, I sold all my stock one afternoon, called my bosses up, said, look, I'm giving you 6 months notice. I've done 10 years in the United Kingdom. I've built 2 businesses. Love you guys, but it's time for me to go. And I just knew the game was over. I sold stock at $48 a share and watched that stock in 6 months go to 55 cents a share. So sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you got to trust your instincts. It was really brutal. I mean, a bunch of my buddies never got out. And that's what happens in markets. You can build a great business and then just overplay your hand where the cycle changes and you can't get out. And we're seeing that in payments in a big way right now. I took 4 or 5 years off, Bruce, because I wanted to do 2 things. One, I've never been somebody that wanted to become a slave to business or a slave to money. And it's kind of funny because people think I'm really into money, and it's actually the furthest thing from my major goals. I mean, it's a goal. I don't want to be in debt or, be needy, but it's not the main principle by which or for which I go do anything. I took off about 6 or 7 years, studied, read about religions, history, particularly history. I find that fascinating. And was in an airport one day in 2005 and ran into this lady who was a consumer marketing expert. And she dragged me into the e-commerce universe. And I became fascinated with the way payments was trying to deal with what I predicted would become almost an anonymous marketplace. I think the World Wide Web really is almost an anonymous marketplace. By that I mean that Bruce Burke is able to go into a store and not have any interaction with a human being. I think that really changes that commercial transaction and the communication between those 2 entities. Because I actually think that commerce and money is about communication. I think money is most certainly, currency is about communication. So in doing that, she dragged me into this, the payments industry. I didn't know the difference between an acquiring bank, an issuing bank. I'd never heard the word chargeback before. We started selling products online. And the reason we did it that way was I wanted to understand the entire chain of events from buying an advertisement, putting a website together, accepting the order, putting it in Shopify or whatever CRM was. I didn't even know what CRMs were. We learned the entire process by how? By actually having First Data send me bills. I had to get an acquiring processing solution, blah, blah, blah. I went through the whole process. And we went from $1.5 million in sales in year one to $62 million in sales the next year. Now, I had a lot of credit and I had a lot of capital to deploy in that advertising space. And then all of a sudden, chargebacks started crushing us. I mean, thousands of chargebacks. We had no idea. Like, I retired very wealthy, so like I'm not one of these scammers people talk about. The last thing I wanted was noise from a credit card transaction that I was merely using to understand the flows. So we started getting the chargebacks. We hired, I think, 4 or 5 experts, all of who you know. I think we spent $4.5 to $6 million, and the results were worse than before we spent the money. And that staggered me. I was actually going to get out of the business. I went back to my partner and said, I'm out. Like, we can't, our money's trapped. We got money with, up in Canada. We got money in Germany. We got money everywhere it's trapped because the chargebacks, we're winning the chargebacks. We're reversing them, but who cares, right? We still have the chargeback. And Monica, who is a really unbelievable puzzle solver, I am not, by the way, a puzzle solver. She began back engineering how to fix the chargeback problem. And in 2012, we billed our first client. I thought we would bill him $400. We billed him $4,500, and the guy was ecstatic. And that's when I understood, oh my gosh. See, I came from a world where we put ISDAs together. And ISDA is a standard contract by which all players operate. The sad thing about e-commerce and the payments industry is that you have too many fractured entities all wanting to enforce their own rules. When in reality, e-commerce, whether you're in Germany or Utah, should have one terms and condition, one pager, should not be complex. Okay, you should have one refund policy, one chargeback policy. Basically e-commerce exploded on the back of a point of sale construct that was built by the card schemes. And it is showing massive, massive friction points of the payments industry. And my belief is that it is not fraud. It is a plumbing problem. And you have way too many vendors pretending to be banks. They are vendors. Most of these players are vendors. And all they're doing is adding fees and adding another decentralized entity. The problem with the decentralized entity is no one's doing the same thing. So, an ISO is going to treat a chargeback differently than the acquiring bank that it sends up to. And the issuing bank, who sees card not authorized, immediately claims that as fraud. When I've claimed not authorized on my card before, but I was not saying it was fraud. I was just saying that transaction is not authorized, okay? It's $72,000. I did not authorize that transaction. So that's not fraud. It's just, hey, cap it. That business, now this is a really, really important story for anyone that's an entrepreneur. Chargebacks 911 was born from a monster pivot, okay? December of 2011, we did not have any chargeback clients. January 2012, we billed our first client. He loved us. In March of 2012, we had shut down the merchant business and completely pivoted to chargebacks 911. Completely.
So in 3 months, you totally pivoted. Wow.
And it was a monster pivot. I was literally, okay, that's what I've invested all this money into payments. Now I know where I'm at. And I didn't really understand the problem because I came from a world where we don't have these problems. We're the most sophisticated products in the world, natural gas and electricity, vital to people, hospitals running and heat flowing into homes and stadiums. We commoditize that marketplace in a way that trades on the half hour, zero friction. There is no force majeure. There is no refunds or chargebacks in the energy space. If you can commoditize electricity down to the 15 and 30-minute cycles, what does that mean for a pair of D-cell batteries sold on Amazon? Okay, that's got a brand around it and a 20% premium. That's going to go away. Okay, these brand premiums are going to go away because they're all made where? Well, they're all made in China. Now they're all going to be made in other countries. But at the end of the day, it's a battery. And like, should it really have 20% volatility? AA batteries have a 20% volatility curve over 6 months. And that's a package of them, okay? That's a consumer package, not like wholesale. So we're already beginning to see the indications of a commodity-style market in services and products across the globe in the way the consumer has driven this change. And our friends who stirred up the whole COVID thing, they pretty much glued it down, cemented it in, and nailed it down to the cross that we will never go back to where we came from, which is walking in stores, buying things, shaking hands, and signing contracts in an analog fashion. It will all be digitized in the future. So that was a 10-year, 12-year journey. I'm finally now extremely passive in Chargebacks 911. I've actually sold my interest back to my partner, and it's freed me up to now look at blank canvases like Node40, which is really what I like to do. Once a business, 4 or 5 years into a business, I start getting a little antsy because I know where it's going to end. I mean, one of the things that I played a critical role in chargebacks in approaching risk. And I remember 3 or 4 years into it, my partner wanted to raise some money. I'm like, no, we're not raising any money now. Last 4 years of our money was the riskiest money. Now, we probably should have, I wanted to sell a couple years ago, but I don't think that my partner's really done with the project. And quite frankly, I don't think Chargebacks 911 is done as a project because they have so much addressable market yet to take. Fundamentally, the payments industry must do something because whatever it has been doing for the last 30 years has only resulted in declines. This is shaping up. Declines are going up. Declines absolutely have something to do with chargebacks and fraud. Refunds are going up. Normal refunds in e-commerce are 8% now. That used to be a fraud stat. And chargebacks are going up. Now, how can you explain after $2.5 billion spent on fraud companies by the card schemes, declines go up, refunds are going up, which everyone said, hey, if you just refund gently, liberally, you won't have chargebacks. Really? Well, chargebacks also went up. So all three indicators are going the wrong direction, and that suggests to me that perhaps we're applying the wrong tools to symptoms. They are not causal reasons. And I think we've had 30 or 40 years of the card schemes and some of the fraud companies actually attacking a symptom. They're not attacking the core problem. Otherwise, we would have seen through all these investments, declines reduce, refunds reduce, and chargebacks for sure. 456 million unique chargeback events a year. 456 million unique chargeback events a year. We only do 1% of them.
Wow.
So it's sad. It's sad for the compliant merchant. It's very sad for the consumer who, quite frankly, he's the one paying for this. In fact, it's you and I, the good consumer, who's paying for it, not the fraudulent or the forgetful or the errorful consumer who might be filing chargebacks and not even know what they're doing. They may think it's a refund, but it's actually creating a problem in the ecosphere. I'm just going to finish with this. Now, here's an example of an industry that's 50 years old. So when people are bouncing around looking for great ideas to go build a new company in blockchain and let's go launch rockets, you got guys like me looking at, hey, there's an industry that's 50 years old. It's got this white elephant problem. Like, I think every industry has a white elephant problem. It's the the uncle that you invite to Christmas that you don't really want to come. You know he's going to make a scene, but nobody talks about him, right? And they keep inviting him. Well, chargebacks was that white elephant and is that white elephant problem in the industry. You know it's a white elephant problem when people say it's a cost of doing business, right? As soon as they roll out the cost of doing business, one, you know it's not their cost, it's your cost. And two, hey, you can't do anything about it. I don't believe that there's anything that you can't do anything about. We just drilled into this problem and started, saying, hey, this is unacceptable that you would have this much friction. You have 62,000 people in the chargeback space, 62,000 amateurs, okay? Bouncing chargebacks between issuers and acquirers, many times the same bank. XYZ Bank issuing, filing chargebacks against XYZ Bank acquiring, and then they do the ping pong, and the ISO in the middle makes $20. It's really sad. But that's a very good example where even a very, very mature market industry has problems. And I would say that one thing I'm good at is creating industries inside of other industries. Chargebacks and fraud have become a major industry. In fact, it gets the highest premium of any type of business or SaaS program because it's dealing with something that is really challenging to deal with, the difference between plumbing problems and fraud and how they correlate with each other. So that's good news. I mean, we bought a company 4 years ago called Artifacts. I probably could have bought 4 or 5 different companies. The problem with a young company, though, is your management has to be really willing to delegate and then become a merger and acquisition company, not just a chargeback company, to be able to digest these companies and make them work really well. So I love the payments industry in that it offers a tremendous amount more of efficiency, and I think people are going to bring real great tools to that industry and make it more effective, which is going to lead us to the blockchain world, right? You can see this evolution is very, very natural. So that's the story on chargebacks. There's 300 people there now. We have offices in Asia, Europe, America, of course, is our biggest position. And again, our business model, very consistent with what I did with energy. It is institutional grade business. Like 10 years ago, we were like, hey, there's no way we can address 50 million merchants. Visa and MasterCard can't do it. And think about that. Visa and MasterCard can't distribute all their tools to 50 million users. They need, entities like ours that are touching merchants and able to deploy these tools. They're some of our biggest clients, in fact, Visa, MasterCard, FIS, JP Morgan, Chase, people like that. So we tend to go into it at the institutional grade. We have to get all our security locked in. You got to have really good reputation and a value proposition. And this value proposition basically is, hey, you're wasting really valuable resources on something you're not expert at. And this is definitely an area that you need to be an expert. Which brings me to the blockchain world, which I'm sure you're going to ask. That I started studying that in 2018 and became really, really fascinated with it.
So it's not lost on me that you're managing partner of Cardone, and if you spell out Cardone, it spells your last name. It's not that was intentional, I'm guessing, right?
I have a few friends in the card payments industry that hate my guts. They're like, we've never met anybody that's luckier than you, and we're just going to prove it. Even your bloody name. I mean, who gets a name like Cardone and comes in the credit card industry, right? So, yeah, it's a play on words, but also have, my brother's quite successful, so I had to get away from the Cardone name just a little bit. So yeah, Cardone Ventures. Cardone Ventures was formed 2 years ago. It is basically the family office that is focused on only on investing in blockchain, Bitcoin, and digital asset investments in that ecosphere. It's not to do tokens. It's to build businesses like Node40 that put the rails in place that allow more compliance, more regulation, more forensics, more transparency. I'm a big believer in transparency. Show me where there's not transparency, and I will show you where there's naughty behavior going on, whether it's at the individual level or at corporate. Where there is opacity, there is stuff going on that is not good for Joe Consumer. Every time, without fail.
I agree with you 100%.
So that's what
on
Card
that.
One's. Yeah, that's what Card One's designed to do. It's really designed to set my kids up so they have they can be angry with me about the problem I'm going to give them in 30 years when I leave this planet.
So,
And they will
if you could, kind of give us the backstory on how you kind of discovered Node40, because you didn't start the company, you invested in the company, and so tell us about, like, one, how you came to find the company, and then two, why you decided to jump in on that particular company of all the companies to invest in.
It's a really weird story. Many people won't appreciate this, but at every 7 to 10 years, I go through cycles. I've studied myself enough in the world to know that I am on a cycle of somewhere. I think you are on a cycle too. I think it's somewhere between 7 and 12 years. When I start getting just like 7 years, I'm like, okay, I got to go do something different. The chargeback business was, first off, that was a family-run business. It's a business. I've never wanted to be in a family-run business. I regret being in a family-run business, if I'm honest, for a number of reasons, which probably make a book one day. But Chargebacks 911 is a really, really great success story if you're really in love with chargebacks. If you're a macro guy like me that gets interested in, the United States blowing up 2 pipelines, what are the macroeconomics of that? People are talking about inflation. I don't think it's real inflation. I think it's supply shock, politically motivated inflation. Is $100 crude oil good, or would it be better at $300? Is it better at $50? What's currencies doing? What is the Fed doing? For me, I like the macro picture. After seeing a lot of analog type deals, what I call 20th century deals, they're cookie cutter deals for me now. And building these companies, I don't even look at that there's any risk in building these companies, other than the time it takes to execute. I could be off 14 months on run rates, but I'm not even going to be off that much. One, because I don't do this hockey stick thing. I don't usually even have investors. So I'm not having to pitch Bruce Burke, hey man, Bruce, this is the cat daddy of all cat daddies. And, it's as soon as we hit, what if I miss? I mean, we haven't missed before, but I could miss. I mean, things happen, right? Shit happens in life. So I wrote down every 7 or 10 years. I start writing. Hey, what do I need to do? Because I'm unclear. I'm like lost little kid and don't know. And what I did know was that I did not want to go back into energy. I was tired of chargebacks and disputes. I think the payment industry's seen its best days, just like I think the energy guys have seen their best days. I think Visa and MasterCard have seen their best days in payments. So I wrote down that I was going to attract, literally that's the word I used. I am going to attract a company and founders who, one, are extremely technology driven. They're so strong technology wise, they actually have atrophied other skills and muscles. okay? And those skills and muscles happen to match mine, and they're commercial. Like, I'm just a very commercial human being. I've been in the process of negotiating probably one of the most complex deals of my entire life, and I wouldn't want to be on the other side of that deal because I knew exactly what I needed to do. Otherwise, I wasn't going to do it. And like when you're unmoving on that, it's pretty impressive if you understand what's happening around you. 3 weeks after writing this note down, I'm going to attract a company with technologists that I can supercharge, just like I did at the Clearinghouse, at Dynegy, and at Chargebacks 911. A friend from Goldman Sachs called me, and he asked me, had I heard about the Node40 deal? It was getting ready to be funded in 10 days by an angel investor, local to Tampa and St. Pete. I knew the guys. I called them up. Hey, what are y'all doing? They were really excited about the lunch they were going to, so they kind of blew me off. I went on LinkedIn, found the CEO of Node40, Perry Wooden, sent him my phone number, my direct telephone number, and asked him to call me. 10 minutes later, I was on the phone with him. 2 weeks later, him and his partner spent a week with me in my home, sleeping in my home, eating with me, and us rejigging their entire strategy. That the angel investor was just letting the founders go down their path. And I said, no, dude, you're going to die here, okay? I mean, really the question was this. Perry, what do founders do? And he didn't know how to answer the question. Most founders do not know how to answer this question. Founders like Pablo Picasso created something. Michelangelo, they didn't get rich. Those founders, he wasn't the CEO. He wasn't the head of marketing. He wasn't the CTO. He had an idea, okay? Ideas are awesome, but if you don't execute on them, or if you execute on them and you sell everything for nothing, or you go, oh, I have to have this bank's brand, so I'm going to just, give everything away. That's not a business, okay? And most founders undervalue who they are and the products they build because they don't have commercial skills. And they're so excited about getting their product out. You need this combination of warrior and magician. And I see the technologist as the magician. And when he wants to believe that he can pick up a gun and shoot it, if I'm doing art, I'm not doing commercial stuff. I need to do my art, my magic. So this deal pops up. I'm in the middle of an extremely challenging divorce. I know for sure I should not be buying this company, right? I mean, it's going to look bad. My lawyers called me up and said, Gary, we really wish you wouldn't do this deal. And I'm like, this is the problem. Opportunities never, ever come along when it's convenient. The greatest opportunities I have ever had come at 2 o'clock in the freaking morning. I'm already got more shit than I can do. I'm probably already pretty happy. Do I really need to do another deal? I mean, the CEO of Node40 will go, we still don't know why Gary did the deal. Gary doesn't need to. Yes, I do need to do this deal. I need to be connected to intellectual, smart people that stimulate me and people that I can help. There's 28 families there that I am going to help secure a position for 28 families, probably 100 families before we're done. And these founders will be able to walk away with a trophy saying they built something substantial, significant, and that it added value. Okay, and unless it adds value, I am not interested. Okay, I could have sold drugs when I was 17. I could have done a lot of naughty things, and my mom told me, hey, there's 2 ways to play the game. You can do it honest, or you can do it as a criminal. Much, much harder to do as an honest person. I have found that rewarding, and I've also found it that, when you have any problems, you don't have any skeletons in your closet, so no one can lean on me. I mean, it's unbelievable having a clean closet. So Node40 pops up. I asked Perry, if you raise $1.5 million, what's going to change tomorrow morning? And the answer was nothing. You don't make any more sales. Okay, and he needed $4 million. He didn't need $1.5 million. So I just went through the whole program with him. The angel investor dropped the ball on the day he was supposed to close. They all do. They just drag the founders. When he dropped the ball, I called up Harry and said, "Hey, it's either me or them, dude. Like, but I don't need them. I don't need their money." Dropped $4 million. Fascinating story. Anybody that doesn't think crypto and digital assets are valuable. I sent him $3.5 million on June the 6th, I think, of 2022. Celsius was getting wiped out on that day. Galaxy was going down and another player was going down. I moved $3.5 million from 5 different digital banks on a Saturday afternoon, 2:30, within 8 minutes. Cost me $12 to move $3.5 million, and my partner in New York is sitting with a wallet going, all $3.5 million has been received, plus the $500,000 in cash that I'd given prior. My investment's done, right? And so we're there now. We've gone from so the value of being able to do that, I could never have done that on a Saturday afternoon with fiat.
And just the cost alone. I mean, despite Saturday afternoon, the cost of sending that amount of money and the time it would take to send that amount of money, and the fact that obviously Saturday afternoon, that's not going to happen on a Saturday afternoon. Not with the traditional
the
bank.
Saturday afternoon thing is like, and it cleared 2 minutes later. Okay, there's no stalling or 5 banks. Okay, that would have taken me at least 30 minutes a bank. Why would I ever use, like, that's a great story, okay? And the only way you ever know about that story is if you buy some crypto and do it, okay? Just start playing with it. It could be $1, it doesn't matter. So anyway, when I met Node40, what is Node40? It's basically a institutional grade, we spent 4 years building this bloody thing, institutional grade technology to go down to the lot level, okay? Like, if you own 1 Bitcoin, you may have 500 lots there. Each one of them has a specific price point. Each one of them has a specific date. And each one of those lots has a particular challenge in the way by which you would account for it and deal with it for a lot of reasons, for divorces, for inheritance, for tax. We think there's about 10,000 people that have actually paid taxes on crypto against 42 million digital holders in the United States.
Wow.
So all you guys that have had a 5 to 10 year free pass on taxes on digital, game's over. I would get your shit in order right now. I can promise you the audits are coming, okay? You can't run away from this boogeyman. You're going to get caught. Like, I know a lot about this space now because of Node40. I have relationships with TRM, Elliptic, Chainalysis, the U.S. government, NIDIG, some FIS, some of the biggest players. Look, everybody is going to understand what everyone else is doing. And if you think you're going to be able to hide coins in a separate wallet and escape the tax man, you're badly mistaken. You need to go back to U.S. dollars, okay, and do all your naughty stuff in U.S. dollars, because that's where all the naughty stuff actually happens, is in U.S. dollars, not crypto.
So you got to deal with the opaque stuff if you want to be naughty.
That's right. But Node40 is really a cool, who's our target market? People like PwC, Ernst & Young, KPMG, Grant Thornton, Baker Tilly, RSM, Markham. You probably don't want to call me direct. Now, if you're a big player, if you hold crypto like I do, call me direct and we'll take care of you. Really, you should have your accounting firm contact me or contact Parity. It's the accounting firm. See, the problem for you is you may understand your crypto position, But the people around you who are your professionals filling your forms out, they don't. Okay, they do not understand it. No one's gone to school for this. You know, it's hard to understand it when you're in it 24/7. So you can't just assume, like, think about this as a new opportunity or a new disease. You will need a new physician. You're going to need a whole new health team around you, that because you're a super athlete now. Okay, I mean, you know, the super athletes don't do normal doctor stuff, right? They're getting injections every day. They were getting massages every day. They're doing cold treatments, man. It's a different process by which they surround themselves with an environment that allows them to be super. And I would suggest that if you're playing in this game, you know, you're moving from a Volkswagen to a fully digitized vehicle that can go 0 to 60 24/7 in 2 seconds. And the roads, you're not really equipped for it. The roads aren't equipped for it. You can't even hear the engine anymore. You will need some different tools. And wow, they have cameras in Teslas, and they have other indicators, right? So I think people I think the people that really should be looking at their tools are the very professionals that are providing the services to Joe Consumer, because Joe Consumer is going to find the right answer. The question is, how many accounting firms, tax firms, forensic consulting firms are these users going to leave and move to someone who has digital practices? I'm not seeing enough large firms go, watch what's going to happen this year. I have a digital division. Baker Tilly, digital division. Markham, digital division. KPMG, PwC, digital division. I mean, these are going to be entities in and of themselves. And the reason why you would have digital entity, Goldman Sachs, digital division. You're not going to have Goldman Sachs crude oil trading and BTC. It's going to be a digital group of people. They're going to understand the entire ecosphere extremely well, and they're going to participate in that ecosphere across the entire chain. So I think, you know, it is those companies that need these tools very, very quickly to be able to create a compliance picture for all the people who are naysayers in this space. If we have time, I'd love to share a story with you at some point about the value of having your stuff together that I don't think most people really fully understand until the audit shows up. And then everyone, and the audits are coming, okay? They're not hiring that many tax guys not to do audits. If you're a player, they are looking for new sources of income.
Yes. So, yeah, we have some time. One thing I wanted to ask you about quickly before you jump into that, though, I did a story yesterday on the Prime Minister of Japan, and you may have seen this in the news out there yesterday, that they're pushing forward with Web3, right? And they're putting new guidelines in place, and they're saying they went to there's some kind of institute of certified accounting professionals over there, and they want them to, you know, help create the guidelines and help create the, you know, they're embracing rather than like here in the U.S., right? It's all pushback here from SEC and everything else, right? So is Node40 dealing with international tax and that sort of thing, or are you just dealing with U.S. consumers, or you know, are you an international company? I guess is, you know, providing services internationally, I guess is the right question.
Yeah. So we don't have a lot of, you know, we're not focused on clients in Switzerland right now. The U.S. tax code is the most complicated tax code in the world. My view is any firm that's able to do this on scale in the United States will be able to replicate, like once the machine is fully built, it's grabbing data and then putting financial context on this data. You got to understand, you buy a house, maybe we use this example. Let's assume this is a house. You pay $200,000 for the house. That's your tax base. And then you have maintenance and, accruals and interest rates, blah, blah, blah. 10 years later, you sell the house, you have a capital gain on the difference. Measuring digital assets is a bit more challenging because they move from wallet to wallet, and you have to prove that these wallets or bank transfers were not monetization events or liquidity events. Not having an understanding of where the cost base is sitting in each particular wallet or bank, and then having an event like an inheritance, a divorce, which, I don't mean to keep bringing it up, but I bought a lot of crypto never thinking that I would ever sell it. Okay? And then I wake up one day, have a letter from my wife saying, hey, I'm divorcing you. And, oh, gosh, I'm going to have to confront the Bitcoin now. I didn't think of that immediately. But, sometime later, people are, hey, which coins do we split? Let's assume I'm a legitimate guy. I'm not going to hurt my ex-wife. Do I give her the $69,000 coins? Do I give her the $8,000 coins? What are the tax consequences on that? If I hand all of these over to my children in 20 years, they have 20 years of crypto and they have no histogram. They have no book from me going, hey, look, in 2016, I bought 2 Bitcoin. In 2017 on Coinbase, I need a history. And this, I'll get to my story, okay?
Sure.
So I bought Node40 in the middle of a divorce, which you're not supposed to, move assets around. I mean, I was just transferred assets from crypto to Node40. So I wasn't doing anything wrong. But the point was, hey, this opportunity's here right now. I have to do this deal. Okay, I'm sorry I'm in a divorce, but I'm doing this deal because this is a really good deal for Node40, and it's a good deal for me. I'm buying this right. This is what I do. This is what I've done my whole life. So I did it, and all above board. Of course, that really is valuable when you're above board. Then you can do stuff like this, push the envelope. Of course, the other team brings me into a courtroom and wants to make me look like the complete animal, beast, crazy man that I am, who would spend $4 million on buying 40% interest in a company and able to retain control of that entity and its exit. My lawyer looked at me the day we were going into this courtroom and he said, tomorrow is going to be the most challenging day of your life. They're going to rip you apart. And the reason he was concerned that they were going to rip me apart, I think I started with like $15 or $20 million of crypto, and it was down 86% the day that I walked into with that judge. So first off, crypto's got a bad name. The lawyers are all 50 years old. They're going to spin this, to the maximal effect they possibly can. I had a book from Node40. I listened to everyone. They immediately said, well, how much have you lost? I said, well, I've taken 20 down by 86%. That looks like a really bad trade. You guys can judge me if you want. The trade was put on for 10 years. The judgment really should happen in 10 years. But you can judge me. I'm already guilty. Okay, bad trade. Bad timing. However, when I opened up the book on Node40, now we're 1 minute into the meeting, okay? 2 minutes into the meeting, I said, here's my entire position. Drop the position down into the lot level, okay? Graphs, charts, a P&L, full financial context. That conversation lasted 2 minutes, saved me $40,000 or $50,000. $40,000 or $50,000, okay? I paid $15,000 for this service. I'll pay $15,000 every year for this service to make my professionals, my lawyers, my accountants, my tax guys very, very savvy. And I've got a guy that's got 800 clients, and because he saw Node40, someone said something 3 weeks later and said, oh, wow, we could take that loss over there, move it over to the crypto, and offset all your losses. Now I've got Joe accounting firm, Joe lawyer, much more boned up on what my opportunities are. What are my options? So that is how I sell Node40. It is not an accounting tool. It's not a tax tool. It's not a histogram. It is a full history narrative, a story that allows you to walk anyone through a digital investment landscape over a long period of time or a short period of time that will defend you against any jurisdictional regulator who's trying to come in and either say you did something wrong or take something from you that is not due them. And I'll end on this. When I move, imagine me moving 100 BTC, 50 to each of my children in 20 years. I die in a train wreck. I'm gone. Well, let's assume they got them. Then what? Then what? Okay, they have, 30 or 40 million dollars worth of crypto. It's 2060. I'm dead. I didn't leave them a story of what my cost base was or what happened. My view is government takes it all from them. All of it. Not just the inheritance part. Takes it all because they can't prove it. So to spend money to be able to share with your family so it doesn't become their problem. You know how many people, rich guys die and they leave this huge problem for their family, like to fix. And it's like, that's uncool, man. Your complexity in your life now, your 28-year-old daughter's having to deal with it. She just wants to, put you in a grave and move on. So that's what I think this tool is about. It's about giving anyone clarity into
you're empowering both. You're empowering everyone around you, both your professionals, your accountants, your attorneys, your any kind of money management, any of that crowd, plus your, like you said, your family. And maybe even other business partners, right? I mean, sometimes due diligence is, going into a deal. I mean, if you could just slap a book on the table and go, here it is, right? There's no mystery, right? And it's all out there. That's a fascinating thing. So how big was Node40 when you started, when you invested your money? And then you're, 4 years into it now? How far are you personally into Node40?
Oh, no, I invest. I met these guys less than a year ago.
Okay.
They have been in it for 4 years. There was 12 people when I met them. Now there's 32. Only 3 sales guys. That's the other thing. A lot of people think I build really large sales organizations. I actually don't believe in large sales organizations. I like Chargebacks 911, 8 salespeople globally, maybe 10 max. I mean, there's some business development people in there, but salespeople, 8 to 10. Node40, I don't think we'll ever have more than 3 salespeople. We just hired Norm Hanawa from Ernst & Young, Chainalysis. I mean, these people can go anywhere they want, and they're coming to work for this company because they see what we see. What we saw at Chargebacks 911 was we have the ability to actually remove this from the way it's being done. We're agnostic, neutral players. We don't have anything, an axe to grind in the deal. We would like to just take all the data and spit it back out, right? And put financial context or some context behind this data. This is big, big, big data and very relevant data. I would say actually the Node40 tax information is more relevant than chargeback. Man, there's a lot of information in chargebacks that can be learned from. So the team has, I guess, tripled, quadrupled. We've signed more deals in the first 4 months of this year than we signed in the prior 4 years. And it was simply about, the first question I asked them was, okay, what don't we do? Now most companies go, hey, what do we do? What do we do? Hey, you tell me what we don't do first, okay? And the first thing we don't do is we do not sell $150 software to Joe Consumer.
Thank God. I don't want to talk to those guys.
They had those guys because everybody was going after the SaaS model. All their competitors were doing this. So Perry's like, okay, let me do it. They get 4,000 customers. They take their price to $2,000. We're going to lose them all. Awesome. Can't wait. Cannot wait. Right?
Good.
Please go away. And then it allowed us to, really focus on the Citadels of the world, the Goldmans of the world, guys that are trading 1 billion transactions a year. And I don't want the small guys. I think there'll be a marketplace. I'd like to merge with somebody that can do the small guys. I mean, my tool can most certainly handle your digital assets, but my business model is designed to deal with Baker Tilly for all of their chairs. We do commercials very different than other people. I want to deliver this to the IRS as their tool. I want Ernst & Young to use Node40. I'm in the background constantly building for them, and they're delivering these tools to their clients. I have no interest in bypassing my host, who I'm building these tools for, and then go direct to the user. I think that's a flawed business model that Deloitte, KPMG, PwC, Ernst & Young will not appreciate software vendors not staying in their own lane. And that's one thing. I have 40 years. I have learned to stay in my own lane, man. Just do what you do.
Let the professionals do. They already have the distribution. Why would you? If they already have the clients, they already have the distribution. That's what every company should be looking for, is a partner that already has that distribution. So they don't have to go find it themselves. Why expend all that time and money, right? Let those people do what they know how to do. So
and they're going to lose that distribution. That distribution will get skinnier. If 42 million to 50 million tax holders of digital assets, that's accurate. I think that is accurate. It's about 16% of the population. If you're an accounting firm and you can't deal with that data correctly and quickly and efficiently, you will lose that client. He will take all his analog assets and move them to a digital player. Because if I can handle your digital assets, dude, handling your house and your 401k and your pension, it's so easy now. So I really think the top 50 accounting firms, you're going to see a lot of staff movement. You're already seeing it. But I think the top 50, the Baker Tillys, Markhams, RSMs of the world, sorry for the guys I left out, but I think they, for the first time in their lives, if they create a digital division, they will be able to take market share from the big four in a way they've never, ever been able to do before. And it's going to be one opportunity, and then it's gone. Window's going to be shut. Deloitte's got a lot of money. EY's got a lot of, all these companies have a lot of money, okay? Money's not the problem. The big T word is the problem. Time, okay? 3 years from now, you cannot roll out the perfect digital solution on accounting and tax and forensics. You need to be ready now. And everyone that's trying to build this solution is building a solution to solve their own internal problem. Huge mistake. You're wasting your money. No industry has done well with this. Payments, credit cards, energy, do what you do really well, partner up with somebody like us, and let's build this thing together. If Visa, MasterCard can't handle 50 million merchants, I'm pretty sure we can't handle 42 million consumers with digital assets growing to 150. So when you put it in that frame of reference, okay, this is going to be a collaboration between experts. I think that's where I think this falls. And there'll be a lot of players that specialize in high frequency players, people that specialize in institutions on the risk management side. That's half our clients. They use this for risk management. A third eye into their business, if you will. And there'll be the companies that sell really cheap software solutions to Joe Consumer. And I think you'll see products get merged, just like we ended up merging chargebacks with prevention tools. You start wrapping products together to make that offering much more. Why does an accounting firm need to deal with 3 different vendors when, in fact, you could wrap 3 things together in one package?
So to wrap this up, my camera's running low on battery. I just got an indication, so I want to wrap this up before that happens. How can the people find you? How can they reach out, get a hold of Gary, get a hold of Node40, and let us know about that.
Yeah, so I'm very easy to get a hold of on LinkedIn or Twitter at Gary Cardone. Perry at Node40.com. He is truly a wonderful human being, but he's a great technologist. Sean Ryan is our head chief technology officer. If you're a super geek in this space, both of these guys are awesome to reach out to. And we do a lot of community work with people, so whether you have an issue with tax or accounting, we'd still like to talk to you because we're very interested in the community. If you want to get a hold of me at Node40, Gary.Cardone at Node40.com. I'm still looking for investments. I mean, we're starting to look at, could we combine some of the companies together? I think, this latest fintech, it's funny, I always build businesses when we're entering into a recession. I think it makes me really strong. But I think in this recession, and in the 2021 spend money on anything that moves circus, I think there's a lot of fintechs that need to do something. And I'm willing to entertain a lot of unique ideas. I think there's a lot of great ideas and companies out there, but their funding may have been a little problematic with the last 24 months. So those are the kind of opportunities. I think this is a great platform that will make us a viable entity to the industry. Again, I believe in bringing value. If you can't bring value, you're going to get erased from the universe. The crypto and blockchain world will erase all takers. Okay, if you're not a giver, I think you get wiped out here. And I think you're going to see major companies get just hammered. Because it will become clear, hey, there's no value here. What am I getting for this in exchange? I never used Twitter until he started charging. I like paying for things. I like going to bars that require a cover charge, okay? It's a nicer group of people, I'm sorry. At least we're not,
raises the bar, doesn't it? Certainly raises the bar and prices them out. Yeah, exactly. So it was great speaking to you. I have a couple of questions I want to ask you after we turn off the camera. So please stick around for that for just a minute. But thanks again. And so what's the web address for Node40, Gary? Do you have a website?
Node4040.com. NODE40.com.
Okay. And as he said, also on LinkedIn and Twitter, he's very active on both of those. I've seen him quite active on Twitter recently. I've been watching your stuff. So it was great to learn more about you, learn more about Node40. I appreciate your time. And just hang around for 1 minute. I have a question for you at the end here. And thanks, everybody. And we'll see you in the next episode.